do some basic dialogue. Because like I know me personally, even though I am in the 112 class right now, it is a bit difficult because I'm not like a heritage speaker. Like I only know like just like less than 50 words or whatever. But I don't, and I feel like because we only offer heritage language classes, it may be intimidating for people like me and people who don't have a lot of exposure to sign up for these classes. So I feel like by having workshops or like implementing it into culture corners during GBM will be a good way to for people to learn more about their culture and empower them.
That was the fifth question. Does anybody else have a question for the Cocos? Or the ones that want to be Cocos?
Checking question.
Yeah?
Wait.
Time out. Okay. Wait. Are you fine answering
Yes.
more questions?
As Coco, you're going to be working with a lot of people, and communication is important. Name a time when communication and another personal conflict came up. How did you handle it?
So in high school, we also had a production similar to PCC. It was just called PCN, but it was also like different. It was not just like a student production. We also had like guest performers, so it was more like kind of Makasama oriented-ish. And so this was during my sophomore year of high school, and we had to contact guest performers to come in to perform. And so I had booked we had to have at least, or a max of 4 people, and we already had 3. And I had booked a guest performer to perform. But at the same time, another person on the board had contacted another person, but we had already set like my guest performer to be we set it in stone. And during this time that the other person scheduled another person, they were trying to like kick my guest performer out in place of theirs, and I felt like I was like disrespected by the board, and like there was just like no communication. And at the same time, like our president of the club was away on vacation, and she was like MIA, and so I felt like there was like a lack of communication and like who are going in the organization and setting up like who's going to be in the program. And so the way that we overcame that is like when our president came back, we just like had a meeting and sat down and talked about it, and about how we need to like respect one another and just respect like decisions that were made beforehand and before and exceeding boundaries of like authority that they may not be authorized. And so I also think like a way to combat that lack of communication is just by having like a lot of personal interaction with people and just getting to know them on a personal basis, so that way like when you know like people's situations and you know their stories, you'll understand, you'll just like have that like better connection with them, and you'll like click and you'll understand what they're going through, and you'll be able to resonate.
Could you repeat the question, please?
So, as a Coco, you're going to be working with a lot of people living now. Name a personal conflict and how did you deal with it?
Okay, so in high school, in my physics class, we had a group project to do called Project Eddie, and for that we had to build a prototype, and we had to work with 3 people, and one was my friend, and we were both very hard workers, and the third person was a slacker. They didn't want to do anything, didn't want to participate in anything like that. So that was a very big issue, and that a personal hardship within that was that me and my friend, we both had tennis practice, color guard practice, so it was hard to be able to revolve our time around her because it was very limited. So in order to overcome that, we didn't want to just do all the work ourselves because that would not have been fair. There's no I in team, it's teamwork, and so we were supposed to do it together. So what we ended up doing was being very persistent and asking her to help us, because it wouldn't have been, like, she wouldn't have learned anything if we did all the work ourselves, and the whole point of the project was to learn something, and nothing would have been accomplished if she didn't learn something. So we overcame that by constantly asking her to help, like straight up going to her and asking her to do something like on the spot. And what ended up happening was we ended up producing a prototype, and it all worked out because we were persistent, because we wanted all of us to be reliable for our own responsibilities.
You have joined your jobs to foster GBMers growth. How will you do this, and what is the direction you see GBM going?
So personally, I grew up not also like kind of like Jacob, but not having a very strong Filipino influence in my life. My mom did not see it necessary, and like I totally resonated during that pad dinner when I forgot her name, but the author, she was talking about how she grew up not having that in her life because her parents didn't deem it necessary, and that's exactly what happened with me. I'm only half Filipino, so I'm half Nicaraguense also. So I had to get that resource through like going to my grandparents' house and learning through them. And so I feel like as someone potentially on board, I could grow with the GBMers by educating myself while at the same time educating them.
Could you repeat the question?
If you join your jobs to foster GBMers growth, how will you do this, and also what is the direction you see?
So in order to foster growth for GBMers, I feel like it's just really important to that, during cultural corners, explain about like, you know, our history, our heritage, and some of the stories or the struggles that we come from, mainly through, like some examples could be through like historical people or people who have made like significant impacts who are from Filipino descent, or and just like integrating a lot of stories for everybody, listening to everybody's stories, and also learning about stories of other people who are from Filipino descent and how they came about with their or learning about their struggles and their conflicts and what successes that arose out of them. And I feel like we could do that through the culture.
A big concern of this year's PCC process was that FAMs were, or people, the folks that were involved in PCC were very cliquey toward their FAMs. How would you sort of bridge that gap and increase involvement between different groups of people?
I feel like during PCC practice, when when people may have like downtime, or so they're not like in a dance and they're just chilling and sitting down with their friends. I think for next year, I'll try to incorporate like games or like icebreakers for the people who aren't in the dances, and so that it will be a way for them to like intermingle with people outside of their FAMs, or even also outside of their class years, because intersectionality is like really important, and it's also key to having that community. So through games, icebreakers, and pushing them to lean into their discomfort and meeting new people.
I also agree with Jacob about the whole games thing, because I know like when we like led practice at one time, it was very difficult to instill those games because so many people like had to go over time to choreograph their dance. But that's why it's important to utilize the time when someone's not doing their dance, and like maybe do like small groups, and like you purposely have to be with someone like you're not close to or like not in your fan, because that's what helps build community. Because I know like personally, like it was we were a very small fan, like there's only 4 of us doing PCC, so it was very intimidating when everyone was very cliquey with their fam. So maybe like try and incorporate the SB program within the actual space itself, like I was saying before, because then you're forced to do an interaction with someone you're not normally close with.
Any other questions for the cook? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
How are-
is the video still going on?
Yeah,
It's low
yeah.
battery though.
Oh.
Hang in there.
How are you going to keep people accountable for things like attendance, class fees?
Hi, Ashley. Hi.
I think something that's very important is that you are reliable for being part of the process. You signed up to be part of the process for a reason, and that reason is to build a community, build these lasting relationships. And so if you signed up to be part of the process, you should be part of it. And that means attending practices regularly and not just going just for your dance, because that's not how you build community. That's just going to learn a dance. And I think a way to facilitate that is for to hold people accountable for their decisions is maybe to do a sign-in sheet, and you have to attend a certain amount of practices or something like that in order to be part of the process. And yes, everyone has their own personal lives and other situations, and we can work with that. We're not saying you can't be part of it if something personal really has happened. That's why we're here for you. We're supposed to talk to us, and we can help you if you can't actually make it to the practices.
In regards to holding people accountable, I feel again, like I said this earlier, just having that personal communication with people and your participants, that way you can understand whatever they're going through, say they can't miss practice, but you can understand why whatever struggle they may be going through. And then also another thing, just really over communicating, whether it be through text or Facebook or emails, informing people about the practices or the deadlines or the events coming up throughout the PCC process. Just having that really good communication. There's one other thing I was going to say. Oh yeah, and because there are 100+ people in this whole production, I understand that being a Coco, there's only two positions, and so that's why there's a lot of delegation within the positions, such as the OCC and the assigning the choreographers and the creative team. And so a way to make the communication even more fluid is just for the people with participating within their own groups. If say you're a dancer and you can't make it to practice, let your choreographer know, and then also let the Cocos know. And then if there's two ways that the communication can be met up. And
Okay.
The issue that came up this year was how gendered the cultural dances are, and how exclusive that may be of some people who don't identify with the gender binary. How are you going to address this issue if it does come up again, to ensure that all PCC participants feel included, and ensuring that you're not breaking the authenticity of the dances?
So yeah, kind of mentioned in the question a little bit. Or I think something that's really important to know, that the dances that we are performing, they've been they came from the Philippines, and they've been done in practices for dozens or even hundreds of years, and they're some of the dances especially the mountainous region where there are the Igorots, or the southern island regions where it's predominantly Muslim. It's very indigenous to the regions, and that's why a lot of them are gendered, just because they originated from those certain areas, whether they are an all-male dance or all-female dance, or specifically a male and female partner dance. But I feel that's something that in KP we are very open about, spreading awareness about that. Here in KP, we are inclusive of everyone, and not just sticking strictly to these gender norms, and that we're open with like accepting anyone who may whatever they may identify as, so that we can allow good participation in each dance.
So KP is a very inclusive space, and we were very like respectful of your identity. And a way this actually has happened was in Pandango when we like Minato Sam choreographed it. There was more partner ones, which in the sense was a female position, than there were partner twos. So we had some females. We had some of the partners be like female if they identified as that. And we kept the authenticity by like still making them wear the handkerchiefs that a partner two would typically wear, but we respected their opinion by like asking them if they wanted to wear a skirt or the pants that partner two typically wore. So I think that shows that we're very respectful of what you identify as, and if you want to be part of a dance that someone might think like, oh, why are you part of that dance? You can be part of it. It's up to you. It's your decision that you're making, and we're very respectful of that.
Any other Okay.
What does community mean?
My turn, right? Okay. So what community means to me is